and Community Development Network of New Jersey. We're thrilled to be able to present our webinar today, Effective Municipal Partnerships, How to Acquire Land and Funding, two things that everybody needs to be successful in housing development. It's a very interesting time, and I think by the strong showing of interest of folks on the phone, we know that there's a lot happening out there. So we are going to go forward with our webinar. I want to just introduce our panelists to you today and let you know that this presentation is being recorded. So if you want to come back to it at some point, Nina's recording it. Nina Arce, our communications specialist, who I just want to give a big shout out to Nina for making all the technical stuff seems seamless. At least it seems seamless to me. I don't know how most of this works. You'll be able to log into our website and access a recorded copy of this. Also, everyone is on mute, or should be. We will unmute people as the presenters get to their portion of the agenda. And if you have questions, there's a little section on the side of your should be a little section on the side of your page that says questions. So if you don't mind writing your question in there, you can take that at the appropriate time in the webinar. Today we're going to go over a brief background on affordable housing regulations in New Jersey. There's also a handout that you can access both here on the webinar itself under handouts. You'll see a little one there. And we'll be sending it out to everyone as well, so you can take a look at it at your leisure. That just gives you some definitions about some of the terms if you're not familiar with all of them. We're going to talk about how nonprofits can collaborate with municipalities to access available land and resources that they have collected and that they need to deploy. And we're going to hear from 3 of our Habitat for Humanity affiliates with some case studies about opportunities that they've made the most. This was actually a webinar that Blair Bravo from Habitat for Humanity Morris County, who's also the chair of our board. Hi, Blair. I know you're on the phone, but you're muted, so I'm just going to say hi for you. That Blair and I had started talking about. She'd been working with quite a few of her partners up there in Morris County and had some good stories to tell, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to share her experience. And then after you hear those 3 case studies, we're going to talk about next steps for what you can do at your nonprofit, and we'll take questions and answers. Next slide. So the presenters today are me, here I am, Blair Schleicher-Bravo, as I've already introduced, Robert Michaels, who's with Robert Michaels & Associates, he's a planner, Liz DeCourcy, who's the COO at Morris Habitat for Humanity, Jeremy Montgomery, who I believe has been able to log on, who's the president and CEO of the Habitat for Greater Plainfield and Middlesex County, and Lori Leonard, who's the Habitat for Humanity Executive Director in Burlington County. And if you need more info on all of us or contact info, we can make that available to you after the webinar starts. I'm going to turn the discussion over to Blair, who's going to talk about the window of opportunity we're facing. Take it away, Blair.
Thanks, Stacy, and thank you for everyone who's here joining us today. We housing advocates know the need for affordable housing opportunities for New Jersey's working families has never been greater, and we also know that these third round of municipal housing obligations is the biggest opportunity for us to expand and improve affordable housing in New Jersey. So after 16 years of uncertainty and lacking a clear mandate to take action, we know the towns are now required to submit an affordable housing plan to their appropriate courts. I look at this as an opportunity for all New Jersey nonprofit housing developers, including the Habitat for Humanity affiliates, to take action since the municipalities will need another option for delivering affordable housing, especially for affordable home ownership. And I will say I do come from, of course, the home ownership point of view, but that's an area that we don't see a lot of developers in developing 100% projects of affordable home ownership. Thanks to the network and Fair Share Housing Center, we've been kept up to date and informed of the court decisions and all the, I'll call it the competing municipal obligations from all the various consultants. We know there's numbers out there, and we know that the towns are putting their plans together, submitted them, and they are before the courts, and action has been taken. And we're right at the 11th hour for many of the municipalities. But I think we still need to ask ourselves, are we taking full advantage of working with municipalities on their affordable housing obligations? Are we filling our pipelines with the current and future projects? And if you are, great, good for you. But if you're not, this is the opportunity that we want to really underscore for everyone, that we need to be getting in front of the municipalities, working on 100% affordable housing projects, and we want to help you and your organization be successful in building that much-needed affordable, those affordable places to live now. For 20 years, Mars Habitat has been working with municipalities. We've been around for 30 years, but we've been specifically working with municipalities on their affordable housing obligation in and around the greater Morris County area. We have built in over 23 municipalities in 4 counties as a solution for municipalities. So this is an opportunity for us to get our organization, all of us, to get our organization included in the municipal fair share housing plans. If your organization is included in those fair share plans, make the best of the possible deals. And I'm underscoring information that's been sent out before, but I think many of us are now, it's all coming together. So so make sure that you're getting there, that you're getting the full deal with those fair share plans, that you're including the trust funds, and make sure that we are, and that your plan is not just, I like to call the pet project. You know, yeah, we have that 100% one or two unit somewhere down the road, but that we are real players in the field. So we're looking at the present need, and I'm going to address present need in terms of the rehab that many of the municipalities have that, they have that need now. The prospective need in affordable housing trust funds. Many municipalities, and what we're seeing, at least here in Morris County, and my quick purview of the rest of the state, that many municipalities have a present need in terms of a rehab. They have an existing need. So here in Morris County, we know that we're not putting families, necessarily new families in homes, but we're helping low and moderate income homeowners correct their interior and their exterior code violations. And we're able to address their immediate critical housing problems so that they can ensure safe and continued occupancy of their properties. So what Mars Habitat has done is we're working with, we have one contract with one municipality, and we're under discussions with several others to run their rehab, the municipal rehab program. We do the affirmative marketing and outreach. We review and select the applicants, and we perform all the activities. The town provides a deferred payment in terms of a second mortgage up to $15,000. So they're paying for materials, plus we get an administrative fee. So it's a nice, nice program for us to help serve the families that part of our mission that we do. And we're also helping the municipalities, so it's that win-win that we look for when we're talking with municipalities. Prospective need, learn what your municipality, what their obligations are, develop the relationships with the municipalities as a solution for 100% affordable housing projects. By getting your municipality written into the Fair Share Plan. And then also at the same time learn which of those municipalities have an affordable housing trust fund and get your town, get your organization written into those plans. Liz DeCourcy, who is our Mars Habitat COO. She also is our Director of Property Acquisition. She's going to go into much more detail of that. My job is here to just underscore this opportunity. And then on the next slide, we talk about the ideal partnership, and that's finding that municipality that donates land and commits affordable housing trust fund dollars, so we've got the land and the money to help with those projects. This is a new landscape, and I talked to my staff about having this opportunity to look at the way that we're meeting our mission in a little different way, that municipalities are open. Their eyes and ears are now, they're listening to us. This is a way that we can develop new funding sources. We can develop new strategies, new types and styles of living, stability, issues and activities. As I said, with the Wharton project that we're doing, that's an interesting way to help us keep our mission alive, and a good way that helps also the municipality. This is an opportunity for us to appeal to the movers and shakers out there who now know that their municipality has an obligation. Maybe once upon a time they weren't really listening, but now they know that their municipality has an obligation. They may not want to see the numbers exploded with market rate units, so we can get in and say, hey, we're a solution to help your municipality satisfy their obligation. And we can show our stuff, to the municipalities, what we're made of, what we do, the great projects that we do by showing that affordable housing is an asset to the community. So I look at this as an opportunity to talk about, the term, I know Stacy's probably cringing with my overuse of affordable housing. It's really affordable places to live for everybody here in New Jersey. This is an opportunity for us to show what we do, how good quality work that we do, that we have a good design, sustainable, green, and we can take the public on tours so that we can start breaking down those barriers. And then finally, this is there's other opportunities here as far as other partnership opportunities in terms of when we work with the municipalities, that keep in mind that there may be some creative ways to getting to that win-win solution for the municipalities. So if we're out there, we're talking to the municipalities as a solution, there may be nonprofit we're the nonprofit developer. There may be for-profit developers that want to talk with us. What we want to do is make sure the municipality is meeting their obligation. So for instance, Mars Habitat is working with a developer that has an 8-unit market rate residential building. He's created for his municipality, or the municipality, there's a 2-unit obligation. The municipality is open to having Mars Habitat supply that 2-unit somewhere else. That's okay, because we were also at the same property elsewhere, but we need money. So how do we, negotiate that with the developer to make sure that they are paying, but they get their obligation satisfied, the municipality is happy, and we want to make sure we don't sell ourselves short, but it is a way for us to get in front of for-profit developers. So bottom line, if you don't have a seat at the table, we are not going to have any impact, real impact on what's going on and the activities with the municipalities. We should be there at the table on a whole bunch of levels, but for today's purposes, this is a way that we need to underscore the fact. Get off the phone, call them right now, call your local mayor and get in front of the municipalities to present yourself as a solution. And don't forget about the Affordable Housing Trust Funds. So the next person here is going to be Bob Michaels, who's going to talk about the municipality. municipal aspect.
Thank you. Thank you, Blair and Stacy. I appreciate being able to help you and present this topic. Starting out with a brief history of the Mount Laurel Doctrine, because we could spend all day talking about that, but it really started in 1976 with the New Jersey Supreme Court decision concerning the community of the community of Mount Laurel in southern New Jersey. The most important thing to take away from that is that it's a constitutional, New Jersey constitutional obligation for municipalities to provide the opportunity for the development of low and moderate income housing. So there were a number of cases after the initial Mount Laurel case, but another important step that was taken was when the New Jersey legislature and the governor signed and passed the Fair Housing Act, and that created the Council on Affordable Housing, which is called also known as COA, and that was done in 1985. And COA established obligations for municipalities in what was known as rounds 1 and 2 of starting after 1985 of calculated obligations for municipalities that they should provide the opportunity for those specific amounts of low and moderate income housing. And over the years, they also established municipal housing trust funds, which were funded from development fee ordinances that had to be adopted by municipalities for both residential and non-residential development. And many municipalities have substantial amounts of monies in their housing trust funds that Blair had mentioned before. In this slide here, you see that we talk about inclusionary versus off-site affordable housing. I'll get into that a little bit more detail later, but municipalities, as part of their housing plans, can provide the opportunity for providing for their affordable housing through inclusionary developments, and that's developments in which a developer will build market rate housing, and a percentage is usually 15 to 20% of the total housing provided will be affordable to low and moderate income families. Another opportunity may be that instead of those affordable housing units being provided within the development, as Blair had mentioned, that one example in which there were 8 units and 2 provided off-site, that could be the inclusionary requirement could be satisfied off-site if the developer has land, or maybe the municipality has land in which those affordable units could be provided. The current status of municipalities working with the court is all over the map, and literally, because each county or each vicinage of the court system is hearing cases from individual municipalities, and they're all at various stages, and each county court is handling it differently. Here in Morris County, I'm involved with a number of municipalities, and we have 3 hearings scheduled by the end of this month for 3 different municipalities. I am in the community in Union County, and that is being handled differently. And I understand that there are cases going on currently in Ocean County and Middlesex County, so all the different courts are handling it differently. But they should all be resolved sometime in the near future. We can go to the next slide, and we can talk about the understanding the options for municipalities. Now, each municipality should be developing a housing plan, a housing element and fair share plan. That plan identifies what their housing needs are. There are currently competing consultants that have calculated what municipalities' affordable housing needs going forward are, and that's also known as the prospective need. As I said, there were 2 rounds initially of affordable housing calculation. The 3rd round was scheduled to have started in 1999 through various other court decisions and stops and starts. That 3rd round really was never consummated. That is what is before the court right now, is what the courts right now is what our municipalities' third round needs or their prospective needs. And there's controversy as to whether that third round need started in 1999 or started in 2015, but everyone has agreed that that prospective need is calculated through or to the year 2025. The other part of the need that a community has is their present need or rehabilitation need that is also calculated based upon certain census information, and each municipality should have a number as to how many units that estimated within their community that need rehabilitation and are owned by low and moderate income households. And then there's the past obligation, which are rounds 1 and 2. The Fair Housing Act, in which COA and all the regulations have been based, had identified that all of these needs are cumulative. Now, there is there are many different methodologies or mechanisms that a municipality can use to satisfy those needs. And one of them is 100% affordable projects. And those are usually funded and sponsored by nonprofits such as Habitat for Humanity or other nonprofits that may specialize in providing affordable housing projects. And they can be for families or they can be age restricted and just be for senior development. Another methodology is inclusionary development and zoning. I mentioned that before, and that's where a percentage of the units that are provided are set aside for affordable families or affordable seniors, and the remainder of the project is marketed as market rate units to anyone, or it could be just an age-restricted project, but it's still market rate and not subsidized or affordable. Another mechanism that is used by some municipalities is supportive and special needs housing. These are often sponsored by some associations such as ARC, the Association for Retarded Citizens. United Way often sponsors some of these. One of my communities, an organization called New Jersey Connect, sponsored some special needs housing for people with spinal cord injuries. Municipalities often support this kind of development because the unit of credit to the municipality is the bedroom as opposed to the entire unit, and it usually has a little impact on the municipality. Another mechanism are accessory housing apartments, or else called ECHO, which are elder cottage housing opportunities. These are usually not very many of these are permitted in the community, and usually the earlier COA regulations limited them to no more than 10 in a municipality because it wasn't thought that it would be very easy to get these approved or developed. And the municipality has to have an ordinance that would allow these accessory apartments to be provided. Communities that have redevelopment programs often would have within the redevelopment plan, and it's very much encouraged that they have within the redevelopment plan, that any residential redevelopment include a portion of those units to be affordable to low and moderate income households. Again, that is something that's adopted by ordinance and included in the redevelopment plan. A market to affordable program is a way for a municipality to use some of its housing trust funds to buy down the cost of the cost of a market rate unit so that it becomes affordable to a low or moderate income homeowner. So it's a municipal subsidy. Usually the funds used is from the housing trust funds. And then another mechanism is it's identified as expiring controls. When the initial Mount Laurel or affordable housing units were established, they were limited as far as the controls for their affordability were limited to a time period of from 20 to 30 years. Some of these have been around for that period of time, and their controls are expiring. They could be converted or end up becoming market rate units, the municipality may have the opportunity, if they are for sale units, to, by resolution, extend the controls. And sometimes if they are rental units owned by a developer, then the municipality may be able to contribute to the developer and convince him by using some of the trust fund money to extend those expiring controls, and the municipality then gets credit for those units going forward into the prospective need. There are a lot of challenges facing municipalities, and from a municipal point of view, I think the number one challenge right now is determining what their obligation is, determining what the numbers are, and then how to meet that number or those numbers. The reason why this is a challenge currently is because everything is in the courts. COA is really defunct, and it's a big question mark out there for municipalities, and they until they really know what their obligations are, a lot of them are not willing to commit to certain housing efforts until they know what their total obligation is. A municipality is looking for a nonprofit partner. What they're looking for in a nonprofit partner, number one, is experience, what resources that nonprofit can bring to the table, and a track record. Really, that's experience, is a track record. Have they been successful, and maybe they can show examples of where they've been successful with other projects. The municipality is also concerned about the impact of the development on the community. If it's a nonprofit development that's 100% affordable, generally those have much less impact than a inclusionary development, because the town is getting more bang for the buck, so to speak, and that they're not going to deal with 4 times the amount of affordable units in total units that is going to be impacting on the community. So they're concerned about the impact on the community, and by impact at schools, of course, is number one impact, and traffic impact is another. And then another concern of for a municipality are costs. Now, a lot of the costs could be handled through the housing trust funds. If the municipality has a substantial housing trust fund, they'd probably be happy to use that money. They don't want to see it go back to the state. They would like to use it in town to help them provide for their affordable obligation. But other costs that they may be concerned with also, which are maybe indirect costs, again, for schools, infrastructure costs, and infrastructure improvements. Then the right partner for the site or project. And if it's a large site or a large project, can the nonprofit partner handle such a project? Are there any associated facilities with the project? One project that I was involved with, it was for, again, for a nonprofit that was helping people with certain types of physical disabilities, and they wanted some type of rehab center with it. That may be a problem in some communities, or maybe a good opportunity. And then what resources does the partner bring to the project as far as management resources, not only financial resources, but management resources and the wherewithal to be able to bring the project to fruition. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Bob. We're going to turn the microphone, so to speak, over to our Habitat partners. I just want to remind everybody that you can submit questions on the right-hand side of your screen. There should be a little box that says questions, and you can type your question in. I hear somebody feverishly typing, and we'll get to them at the end. And if we don't have time to get to everybody's questions, what we've done in the past is just, we know who's asking, so we can submit them, submit answers back to you individually. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Liz DeCourcy, who's going to talk about some successful work they've done in Morris County with the Habitat for Humanity chapter there. Take it.
Thank you, Stacy. I've been with Mars Habitat for over 10 years, and I'm happy to share some of my experiences and best practices with those that are interested in learning about this important topic. As Blair mentioned earlier, the ideal partnership is one where a municipality can provide your organization with both land and affordable housing trust fund dollars for your project. If you need any land use approvals, Although it's not a guarantee, the project is often viewed a little more favorably by the zoning or planning board if it's municipally sponsored and will assist in offsetting their affordable housing obligation. In addition, the fact that the project is municipally sponsored, it can also help sway some public opinion for the, the project, the affordable housing project that doesn't always get the best reputation when you're going into a town. And we've had a lot of success partnering with municipalities doing that. And depending upon the municipality, some are willing to reduce escrow amounts, professional review fees, permit and application fees, but you have to remember to ask. And then if you do ask, they also will often ask you to put it in writing, which is typically no problem. We've even had municipalities offer their services from their DPW crew and equipment to undertake some of the utility work on our projects at no cost. So that's been a municipality we've been working with for years, and they were a great supporter. Get in and get established with the first project to show them your organization's capabilities that Bob mentioned. They want to make sure that you have the capabilities to finish the project. And after your first project, you need to continue to be in front of them and remind them you are always looking for another project. Just don't assume that they'll come back knocking at your door. And the world of municipal officials is very small. They see each other at meetings and conferences, and they talk a lot. So if you're trying to get into a second municipality, don't hesitate to name drop and tell them to speak to the contact at your first municipality, assuming it was a successful partnership. Next slide, please. So now you know it's a good strategy to partner with the municipality, but you don't know where to start. First, if you already have contacts in any municipalities, that's a great place to start. Call anyone you know in the town to start the discussion, get a referral, find out who's responsible for their affordable housing, and call to introduce yourself. See if you can schedule a meeting. You want to identify which municipalities have a trust fund, not all of them do, and find out which ones in your area have significant obligations, like Blair earlier mentioned. They will be more likely and motivated to help work on new projects with developers. If you have a good contact with a town and they don't have a trust fund, you can still work with them and see if they have land to donate. If you aren't that familiar with the municipality, you want to reach out and do some research, go to their website, go to the county website, find out some demographics, find out what the top issues are in their town, just get a general sense of their political climate, the makeup of their town council. Do they have existing affordable housing in their town? And if so, what's it made up of? Mostly rental. If you are a Habitat affiliate, don't hesitate to extol all the benefits of home ownership to a neighborhood and a community. And those other for sale housing developers should do the same thing. Next slide, please. Okay, so you also need to do your homework. You want to get a copy of the town's housing element and fair share plan. Those are some of the documents Bob mentioned earlier. It's part of their master plan, and those documents will help outline how the town proposes to satisfy their obligation. The documents are public records, so you can get them directly from the town, but if you want multiple municipalities' fair share plan and housing element, you can actually go to the county that they're held in, and they'll also be able to get you them from multiple municipalities within the same county. The spending plan, you can reach out to the town clerk and see if you can get a copy of that, or he or she should be able to direct you to the right person to get you that. The spending plan is important because that outlines the projects, the organizations, and the amount of the trust fund dollars that are committed to each project. And when you're looking at the spending plan, be sure to see if 100% of the balance has been committed. And if it hasn't been, those are funds that should be available for new projects. To get included in the housing element and fair share plan and the spending plan, the municipality has to agree to include your project. So if you're going down the road and you come to an agreement on a project location and an amount of some trust fund dollars they'll commit, they can amend their plans by going through the current court process to get you included in there. And that would be your ultimate goal, to have the money and the project set aside for your organization. Okay, next slide. So you'll want to reach out to the municipalities. You're going to hear me say this a lot over the next couple of minutes. If you don't have a contact, call anyone you know. Call the mayor to introduce yourself and your organization. If you can't get through, ask them who else you should speak to about affordable housing. The municipal planner is often a good person to reach out to and talk to. They can be on staff or they could be a consultant. Speak to the planner, introduce your organization and your services, see if you can set up a meeting, and he or she may be able to tell you if there's any opportunities available right now for new affordable housing. And the more services that your organization can provide to the town, the more attractive you will be to the town and saving them time and money. For instance, you can act as the administrative agent if you're qualified to do that for the projects. You'll be responsible for submitting and implementing the affirmative marketing plan to solicit applicants for the project as well. Another way to get out in front of some of the municipalities is to go to some of the League of Municipality meetings or their annual conference, where most of them do attend. And just one reminder, if you're the executive director or CEO, don't be the only person meeting with these municipalities, because you don't want to lose the relationship if for some reason you're no longer with the organization. And you also want the municipality to feel comfortable once you turn the project over to your staff. Okay, Nina. Like with any partnership, there are challenges. One of the biggest challenges is the progress can be slow with a municipality. From the time you identify the project, you negotiate the contract, you get all the housing element fair share plan and spending plan amended and all the ordinances and approvals needed for that process, it could take several years. And it's not unheard of for some projects, especially significant ones and complex ones, to take up to 10 years. So my recommendation is just stay the course. It does happen, it's slow moving, but as a nonprofit developer, you need to keep the process moving. The municipality is busy with many other pressing issues that have nothing to do with affordable housing, so it's up to you to politely and respectfully follow up and find out the status and keep on top of the project. And quite honestly, the municipal official that you're dealing with or your point person is typically appreciative that you're following up to kind of keep them on top of it as well. And due to the recent uncertainty with COA, some municipalities are reluctant to do anything. If you encounter a municipality that doesn't want to do anything because of the uncertainty of COA, then I would just say walk away. They'll ultimately need to do something, but you should spend your time on municipalities that are actually interested in satisfying their obligation. And although each municipality has an obligation, it doesn't mean they all like it. And a good way I've found to approach it with these municipalities is to be understanding of their concerns, but position your organization as part of the solution. And you heard Blair say that also, that they're not looking for somebody else and some additional problems. They need help, and that's the best way to position your organization. You may have some additional requirements imposed as a nonprofit developer. A lot of it comes to the points Bob was talking about, their uncertainty that you can deliver. So they may ask for information on your funding, to make sure you can complete the project, or that you have proper staffing to complete the project. So your job is to just reassure them that you're qualified and that you can produce a successful project. Just one last thing, Tina, on that last slide, for other important requirements that your organization will have to comply with is to make sure that you're following all the rules and regulations so that the municipality gets the proper credit. And there's specific ways that you have to market to your applicants and how you select your applicants. There's ways you have to construct your project with a certain number of bedroom distributions. For instance, you can't have all one bedrooms. And there's other things like that that you'll need to make sure you're up on so that the municipality gets the appropriate credit when the project is done. Okay, next slide. So you've heard a lot of information. Hopefully some of it you already knew and some of it is new, but I do want to leave you with some next steps on how to proceed. So you want to identify the municipalities you want to work with, especially those you already have established contacts and relationships, confirm their trust fund balance and that they have one, review their housing element, fair share plan and spending plan, and understand the direction the town is going with their affordable housing. Get on the municipality service list. This will keep you informed on their affordable housing activities. Contact the mayor, administrator, planner, or anyone else that you know. And most important, continue to cultivate and build those relationships. Okay, we're going to move on now to the first case study. It is an overview of a project between Roxbury Township in Morris County and Morris Habitat for Humanity. In 2012, when the trust funds were being targeted by the governor to help balance the budget, Morris Habitat was contacted by numerous municipalities looking to enter into contracts to commit their funds. And nobody was really sure what committing their funds meant at that time, but they just knew they had to do something. So Roxbury actually issued RFPs to several nonprofits for some property projects they wanted to undertake on municipally owned properties. And they were seeking a nonprofit agency that was qualified to finance, construct, and maintain a 100% affordable project. Their former DPW site was one of the lots that we submitted a proposal for. And we submitted a proposal to construct 12 units, and we were awarded the project. The deal we negotiated with the town was they would provide us $300,000 from their trust fund, and we would pay them $300,000 to purchase the property. So that would be $300,000 from their trust fund through Habitat and back to the municipality to pay for the property. And in addition to that, they would provide $600,000 from their trust fund towards the construction. But before they could transfer the title to the property, they had to undergo some extensive environmental remediation due to the DPW operations. And that's still undergoing. The site was also zoned as GU, which is government use, and it did not allow for affordable housing to be constructed in the zone without a use variance. So the town is proposed amending the GU zone to permit affordable housing. It had already allowed for senior housing, but not affordable. The project also requires site plan approval by the planning board, which we're currently in the early stages of applying for. Okay, so the existing conditions here quickly is the site plan that showed the DPW site on it. You can see there were a couple of garages. There were some steep slopes, those topo lines in the back. The environmental had soil contamination. They took out 1,500 tons plus or minus, which is about 60 tandem loads of truckloads of soil. There's groundwater contamination, and so they're undergoing groundwater cleanup. And just to make the project more interesting than it already was, the neighbors on both sides and in behind the property were also using the abandoned site for access to their driveway. One had erected a fence, was using part of the property of their own, and the rest of the neighbors were walking the dogs on a property. So they weren't real thrilled that the site was going to be redeveloped. On the site plan and preliminary landscape plan that just came up, you can see that the plan shows that the lot is irregularly shaped, which just creates more challenges with the site plan. And we addressed the neighbor who had the fence on the property. The town is now entering into a lot line adjustment. If you see right at the top there, there's a red arrow with a hatch mark. That's where we redesignated some of the property to the neighbor. And the other neighbors were going to help improve their driveway so they don't have to access the site through this lot. Once the word for the project was out, since it was a fairly large project, questions were being routed to the business administrator at the municipality. So we agreed to have a meeting with all the neighbors. They had concerns with what they were going to see when the site was completed. You know, lights from the cars and the buildings was a concern. Several neighbors were concerned of their view from the back decks. But believe it or not, we've found on most projects that once you can get through the emotional issue of change with the neighbors, they often have legitimate concerns and they can provide valuable input for the project since they actually live nearby. So we did address most of those concerns as much we could by increasing the buffer with landscaping, adding some additional parking spaces so they wouldn't overflow into the road, and just, you know, tweaking the site plan a little bit to make them happier. And since this site is located on Main Street in Roxbury, Roxbury has a Main Street streetscape design, so we also have to comply with some of those elements, which is appropriate lighting, shade trees along the road, and things like that. To date, we've had 3 meetings with the neighbors, and we were successfully able, I believe, to demonstrate our willingness to work with them, and that we really want it to be the best possible project for all involved. So that, we had to really partner with the municipality because what they don't want to hear are constant complaints from neighbors. So you really have to partner with them to make sure it's a win-win. The housing design, very quickly, just you can see on the left is the floor plan. It's 6 units in each building, 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top. And we have the exterior, a lot of architectural features to not make it, since it's a large structure, just not a flat surface. So we really did a lot to work with the town. And the project rendering is a great tool to get things approved. We were able to not only show the rendering, but the project that we proposed, the building, is one we've already built in Summit. So we were able to direct Roxbury Township and the neighbors, if they want to see the finished product, they can go to Summit, New Jersey and look at it and see how attractive it is. And in the end, even if it takes 6 years, there will be 12 new families with an affordable home of their own with a habitat, and probably a home they helped build if it was a habitat project. So I just recommend staying the course, creating those relationships, and making the best project possible with the municipality. Thank you.
All right, next we'll hear from Jeremy from Habitat Greater Plainfield, Middlesex. Take it away, Jeremy.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Speaking of that Summit project that Morris Habitat did, many of those of you on this webinar would recognize this picture. I'm a firm believer that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So briefly, I'm going to have you look at this picture and save me from giving 1,000 words. But this is a project that Morris Habitat did in Summit, New Jersey. And recently, when we were invited into a meeting with Old Bridge to be able to discuss Habitat and our model with them, this was a picture that we showed, primarily to be able to demonstrate what multi-unit housing can look like within a community. And similar to what you just heard from Liz, in Roxbury, for them to be able to point to this project and say, hey, if you have any questions, go take a look at it. We did the same thing. So in September 2014, so if you're following a timeline, that was well over 1.5 years ago, we were invited into this introductory meeting with the business administrator, Chris Marin, as well as the Mayor Henry, and their staff. And we took it as an intro meeting just to share Habitat for Humanity as one Habitat affiliates. Even here in the state of New Jersey, there's multiple of us, but for us to be able to demonstrate to them that though we as an affiliate only had a base of operation in the city of Plainfield, across the board we have a track record to be able to deliver high impact to communities together. And so what we presented to them is that we were looking for projects for what was called Habitat for Heroes, that is our veteran housing program. And we were also looking for a site to be able to provide barrier-free accessible homes in partnership with another nonprofit called New Jersey Connect, based in Union County. And at that time, as well as still moving forward, we were looking for sites that would be able to allow us to still serve those that have been affected by Hurricane Sandy. We knew from going from Plainfield, New Jersey, our base down in Old Bridge, that we were interested in more than just 1 or 2 homes. So at the end of the 45-minute meeting, Mayor Henry, first time he spoke up, said, well, Jeremy, what would be your vision? What would you envision for Habitat for Humanity here in Old Bridge? And I said, well, we're definitely interested more than in 1 or 2 homes. So he said, so you'd be interested in something similar to that sixplex that you referenced up in Summit? And I said, yeah, something like that. And so at that point, I kind of leaned back, and you can go to that next slide. And I said, well, Mayor, how many homes were you thinking of for Habitat for Humanity here in this community? And his response was, well, we were thinking 30 to 40. So this is like an example where, okay, heading into the meeting, we had our vision, we had our idea of what type of impact we wanted to be able to partner with on a municipality. And he went on to say that Old Bridge is a little bit under 50% fully developed. It's currently the 3rd largest municipality in Middlesex County, and they had a plan to not only fulfill their current obligation for affordable housing, but as they continue to grow and develop, that they want to have partners at the table for them to fulfill it. So at the conclusion of that meeting, they offered this site. This was an abandoned, vacant school building that they've been utilizing for a senior citizen community center that's right between Route 35 as well as Garden State Parkway and Lawrence Parkway here. And so at that time, and as well as moving forward, we offered to be able to build 2 sixplexes similar to what Morris Habitat is doing. And so we left that meeting to look at this site. So fast forward, we work with the municipality to go through the process for them to declare this as an area in need of redevelopment. So that went through the council just this past September 2015. The council approved that plan, and then in March of 2016, just a few months ago, we were named the redeveloper, and that we have between now and October to be able to finalize our redevelopment agreement. So in terms of a case study, perhaps I'm a perfect example because we're still learning the lessons that have been conveyed to us so far in this webinar. And for me to convey to you just the summary of the lessons that we're learning. First of all, relationships are key. The business administrator, Chris Marr, he and I knew each other sitting at a ministerial meetings up in Scotch Plains. He was the township manager in Scotch Plains for a number of years. When he went down to Old Bridge, he calls me up and says, Jeremy, as a good Catholic boy, I want Habitat in my community. Would you come down and meet with us to be able to share Habitat's model? So, you know, it's even called the Affordable Housing Trust Funds. You know, relationships are so key and fundamental as the trust that we must instill into our product as well as our ministry and service to the community, and that's never to be forgotten. And the second thing that I just even learned is, I don't know where the expression comes from, but kind of go big or go home. You know, like there's such a need. We know that. Everybody's on this call because we're trying to deliver a need. And in our case, we wanted to go big, and we're trying to go big. So we've never done this scale of a project before, but we leveraged the partners, and we will continue to do so in the affordable housing industry, and for you to do the same. You know, we have a big network here that's even sponsored this call, and to leverage that into the minds of municipal leaders and to upsell your potential. It can be accomplished if you work smart and you diligently put together the resources that are necessary. And then the next part is just for even us and perhaps you to learn what does it take for a municipality to declare something in the need of redevelopment. That allowed us to be able to utilize their approved redevelopment plan with the overlay zone for our site plan, so that we're able to cut corners in a lot of ways. But ultimately, even in the timeline that I shared, patience. Patience is a virtue. Things go slow. Right now, the plan is under the care of the redevelopment agency, so it's even working with an agency that wasn't quite active. And patience, patience, patience is the ultimate virtue in all of this process. Done. Next slide.
Because we're running a little bit late, Lori Leonard from Habitat has generously offered to submit her description for the website, and we're going to send that out, as Nina mentioned. I know a couple of folks have asked questions already by typing into the question box, and we're going to take a couple of those quickly and then let everybody get on with the rest of their day. I know people plan for an hour for a webinar, so we don't like to keep you over. We will be sending, a couple of people asked this question, we will be sending the background document as well as the PowerPoint to everyone who registered for the session, and it will also be on our website. And if you have questions, I think we'll put everybody's contact info so you could get in touch with folks there. And as somebody else also asked if there's an updated list of the housing trust fund balances or where they can find that. The last time we were able to get them from the state, the municipalities that have a local municipal trust fund had been reporting that information to the State Department of Community Affairs, which then put it on their website. We collected that, we looked at it. We don't think it's very different or very significantly different from what has been previously published. So if there's a particular community that somebody is interested in, you can call that town if you're looking for the whole list to kind of see who has more resources than other places. That's a little more difficult, but you should definitely verify it, because even what has been published as I think Bob said earlier, what they, or Lori, what they have collected versus what they've already committed are different numbers, and all they have to report at this point is what's collected. So we want to make sure that people get the best information, and the best information is going to be whatever you're able to get individually from the municipality. So I just want to thank our presenters again for being with us, and to make sure everybody knows that next Thursday is the network's annual legislative day, and one of the pieces of legislation we are working to stop that we'll be talking to legislators about next Thursday is a bill that would eliminate the gap period requirement for municipalities. So when we talked about earlier the current present and prospective need, and the courts determining whether or not municipalities have to account for folks that are in need of homes in the last 15 years, there is actually legislation that would say they don't have to count those folks. We want to make sure that that legislation never, ever, 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 ever sees the light of day at the legislature. So that's one of the issues among many that we'll be talking to legislators about next Thursday. If you are not already registered for Ledge Day and you would like to be, and we strongly encourage you to do that, we have, this is going to be a pretty big year, I think. We have quite a few folks signed up, but we always, always want more. There's no charge, and we give you a t-shirt. You can go to our website, hcdnnj.org/NJ Ledge Day, and we will also be sending out that link as part of the follow-up packet to everybody who's signed up for the webinar today. I think that was the sum total of the questions that we are going to be, oh wait, there was another one. Are there additional requirements for multi-dwelling units? I'm just trying to read this while I'm talking at the same time. Can she do two things at once? Are there additional requirements for multi-dwelling units, such as the establishment of a homeowners association? Or somebody's got their phone not on mute. I'm not sure. We'll contact the person who asked that question offline, because I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for. I don't think that there are additional requirements like a homeowners association, but it really depends on the kind of community that you're talking about. If it were condos, I think that might be the case, but it would depend on the actual design. If it's a small multifamily, I don't think so. But if somebody else has a better answer to that, who's a panelist, they can certainly raise their hand, or we'll find out for you and get back to you. All right, then I guess I answered that to the best of anybody's ability on the call. And if we can provide additional info on that answer, we certainly will. Thanks, everybody, for being with us today. Thanks to the panelists. Yeah?
Stacey, I'm sorry, we have one more question.
I'm
where
sorry,
are you finding the balance? Sorry. Where are you finding the balance of funding for these large projects?
I think one of the things we've heard from folks, especially if you're doing multifamily, is that there's not enough money out there, which is why we need to be at the legislature next Thursday. The larger funds, I don't know if Jeremy or Liz wants to talk about some of the multifamily ones that you guys have done, but I think most of those, if I'm not wrong, have come from local affordable trust funds. Is that right, Liz? Jeremy?
Oh, yeah. Hopefully you'll get a good chunk of the seed money for it, but then we do go for some different HUD funding grants, home grants, CDBG, a lot of people are familiar with. And then for the Habitat model, it's just getting a lot of sponsorships and general fundraising activities. We don't typically get construction loans, and I know that's a lot of other organizations have to go that route, but we do not.
And for rental, there's also the option of being part of a low-income housing tax credit development, which is a whole different topic that would require a completely different and much longer webinar. We should also say that the National Housing Trust Fund is going to be sending $3 million, not a lot of money, but a start, to New Jersey in July, next month. And that will provide some very new dollars to do multifamily rental and potentially home ownership. So there may be more money on the horizon. All right, I think that's all the questions. Thanks, everybody, and thanks to Nina and to all of our presenters for being here today, and to all of you for attending. Hopefully I'll see you all next Thursday.